Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. Merry flippin' Christmas. This is going to come out on Christmas Eve,
Christmas
guys.
Eve. Yeah.
What the hell is up with that? This is our Christmas gift to you all, to you, the listeners. Oh, I do want to give a shout out. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but Barb, she's a friend I made, and she's from the Minnesota. Actually, she's from Wisconsin, I think, but I just wanted to be an asshole. And she has been sharing our stuff. If you guys follow Scarefest, she runs the Scarefest fans page. I don't know if you're aware of this. Have either one of you paid attention to this? And that
No.
she's been blowing up Bonehead on it?
No, I
Oh,
had
that's
no
very
idea.
nice. That's very nice.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. We just met this past October, hit it off, and she's been really supportive, and I really appreciate that. I know I've given her a shout out on some of this Bonehead on the Bonehead Week. Jesus, Scarefest review. I do weekly for Scarefest Television, but I appreciate that she runs the fan site for Scarefest, and it's nice that she's been truly showing us more attention than anyone else has on that. So thank you so much. I know she's been going back watching past episodes, sending me things that she likes, and actually she thinks we're funny. So she's got shitty taste.
Yeah, no accounting for taste. What can you
No
do? What
accounting
can you
for taste. I mean, no
I'm
accounting.
assuming none of it involved me, maybe.
She just enjoys our show. She says that
Uh,
actually, she get the compliment I got the other day was that we're way better than our numbers. She didn't say
oddly
she didn't say
oddly
that. She just said what she said was, and I'm loosely quoting, was that we're much better than some of the people who are more popular.
oddly enough, my doctor says the same things about my numbers. I need
Yeah,
to see a better doctor.
you probably should. Is that the Diet Mountain Dew you stole from my house?
You mean the one that said, "Will you take that out of my house? I don't drink that crap. Get that crap out of my house." That one, yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, though we noticed we were talking about this. We had the Boneheads. So recap had our annual shopping trip together that we've done for years now tonight, and we're glad that we got to do it. Hung out. I had a really good time. That being said, my computer just started doing this weird thing with Adobe that's just going circles and circles and circles around right now. But anyway, we were talking about how our YouTube numbers are up, and she says she enjoys watching us on YouTube. So I'm curious why.
yeah. Yeah, and if you're watching us on YouTube, put in the comments what you
Yeah.
think.
Why do you prefer to watch us on YouTube than because for years our audio numbers were the best and now it's YouTube and I don't know why. Do they have a crush on Chad? If so, please comment.
That is highly unlikely.
Do they want to crush Chad, like with a stone or with a car,
Ryan.
maybe a forklift?
James wins the lottery. Chad wins the lottery, James. Which lottery is Chad winning?
Shirley Jackson's the
Jackson's the
lottery.
lottery.
Lottery, that's right. We're going to
But
stone Chad and not in a good way.
and I know we're doing a Christmas episode, but I
Yeah.
do want to say, and I don't mean to move us along, but we're doing a Christmas
Chad
episode.
has to go be a dad.
But hold on, let me make this terrible. No, he has to go be a daddy. It's a certain website that he does. It's best we not go into
Is this the
details.
one where he sits in cake?
And has a bib and a pacifier. It's odd, but
Mhm.
who am I to kink shame? But I do know, and it's something that I think about it often. Christmas is not always the easiest time for everybody, right? It is. It's a loaded time for many people, and I sometimes struggle with that myself. And I thought before we go on to a happy topic of the Santa Clauses and whatnot, um, I was thinking of one of my favorite kind of Christmas is problematic quotes. And it is, of course, as everybody will predict, Harlan Ellenson's quote. Um, but it's this quote: Christmas is an awfulness that compares favorably with the Great London Plague and Fire of 1665 to 1666. No one escapes the feelings of mortal dejection, inadequacy, frustration, loneliness, guilt, and pity. No one escapes feeling used by society, by religion, by friends and relatives, by the utterly artificial responsibilities of extending false greetings, sending banal cards, reciprocating unsolicited gifts, going to dull parties, putting up with acquaintances and family one avoids all the rest of the year. In short, of being brutalized by a holiday that has lost virtually all of its original meanings and has become a merchandising ploy for color TV set manufacturers and the ravagers of the woodlands. So if you're feeling that way this Christmas, don't worry, you're not alone. Go read some Harlan Ellison. There,
Oh my
that helped.
God, James.
That help. Everybody feeling better now. If you don't, if at least you feel heard, if you feel that way. On the flip side, if you don't feel that way, you can do something else. But I think one thing that we're going to do this year is, I think last year we did the best Santas ever, right?
Mhm.
So this year, are we going to flip it and do the worst Santas ever?
I thought we were doing the best Santas ever this year.
Hold on. Somebody obviously isn't paying attention to the chat.
We did this episode last year. Oh my God. We don't remember what we did. And this wasn't last year. This would have been almost 2 years ago.
It says 1 year ago on the post. So that's why I said we did it a year ago.
Well, 261. What number are we on now? What episode is 305? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
yes,
so
it
it'd be
is
a
big.
year ago. Yeah, it'd be about a year ago.
Yeah.
So let's flip this then. Who are the worst Santas in pop culture and film and whatnot?
Joe, could you spin that?
Yeah, I will spin that. Jesus.
Yeah, you
guys.
want me to start with one? I mean,
I've actually got two.
Well,
bad
actually,
ones.
I have a way to start this.
Okay.
Do you mind if I start?
Is this going to be another Harlan Ellison quote? Oh wait, that was me. Go ahead.
No. But when I was doing research on this episode, that's clearly changing as we as we go.
It has evolved.
What I found fascinating was one of the Santas that's on everybody's list is a movie I've actually never seen. Santa Claus the movie, the one with Dudley Moore, and it's David Huddleston played.
I hate that movie.
I have never seen it, Chad. It is on every single one of the lists I went to. I was also shocked at how many of them had David, which it makes sense to me, but David Harbour and Violet Night, which only came out last year, is on a lot of the lists as
As
well.
the best Santa?
Is one of the best Santas, yeah. Some of
I
them
mean, he made my list. I thought he was.
Well, but the thing is, that's one of the more factually based. If you buy into the, or not buy into, if you're the historical Santa, he's a redeemed soul. He's a redeemed. I mean, and so he was a bad person, and
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that Violent Night leans into this idea that Santa wasn't always a saint,
Right.
and there's some history that backs that up. But anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, I've never seen that movie. Do I need to watch it? It was
No.
not a success.
No,
what
it
is
was
so-
boring. It's boring.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is. I did not enjoy it at all. I liked it as a kid, and so as an adult, I was like, well, I'm gonna go back and watch it because I had fond memories of this, and I was like, I regretted every minute of it. It just is not. It's boring. It's an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes of just nothing.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, I was just curious because I have no recollection of it whatsoever. None. So anyway, who's up next, James?
okay.
Well, not one of you.
No, I mean, my simple one is, I mean, if you want a terrible Santa, and it's one of my all-time favorite terrible Santas, and every episode that he pops up and is great, is from Futurama. Robot Santa is hands down one of the best worst terrible Santas, because
but he's also one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
he's one of my favorites too. What is it, Joe? So many stink lizards.
So many stink lizards.
Yeah, no, he is. He's just he's a classic character, and if you're watching Futurama still, the new season, it gets even more complicated when you realize why he's evil and who's actually. And it always ties back together. It's one of the things that I do give Futurama is they do a great job of being self-aware and everything else. But there's Santa. And what's funny is I think it's even more relevant, and maybe it's because I work in higher education and we're confronting this now, but I think bad Santa becomes even more relevant when we think about AI. and the very real discussions that are going around artificial intelligence and all that stuff. So to have a Santa that has been quote unquote programmed to do this great thing, but then becomes evil, and judges everybody to be naughty, it's just a hilarious commentary in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and there's I also love the fact that Futurama doubles down on Bad Santa because we also got the Hanukkah Zombie and Kwanzaa Bot, who are still good, by the way. Both of those are still good characters, though they do interact with Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is one of the worst, but best Santas I think in pop culture history is Santa Bot, voiced by John Goodman, of course.
Right. So while we're talking about bad Santas, man, I'm having a tough time because most of my Santas are just really good Santas.
None of most of mine are, but I've got 3 bad ones. So
All right,
good.
you go.
All right. So I think there is a Santa that's worse than Santa Bot. And that is Larry Drake's Santa from All Through the House.
Tales from
All
the
Through
Crypt,
But
Tales
I
from the Crypt.
love him.
1972, baby.
Written by Fred Decker.
And Steve Dodd.
There's a second writer on that?
He gets credit for it.
Oh
Stephen
shit,
Dodd
I
gets
don't know
credit.
that I knew that, but Fred Decker, yeah. Directed by
Robert Zemeckis.
Bob Zemeckis, All Through the
If-
House. I need to get. Did you bring that? Did you take that one home? It's in the first season.
Yep.
You son of a bitch.
Well,
I ain't watching that later.
I can bring it back over.
No, keep it. It'll be fine till the weekend when I'm just sitting here frantically trying not to shoot myself because I
Yeah.
can't watch it. Even though I didn't think about it, you brought it up.
He is just the epitome of awful Santas. I mean, his even his appearance.
Well, yeah, he's
And-
a psych. By the way, Chad.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me. I'm so sorry. I'm putting this up. It never occurred to me. He's Dr. Giggles and that Santa.
Yeah,
Well, why did
Larry-
that never occur to me?
I have no idea.
He played so many serial
Y-
killers.
y-
He had
y-
so
y-
many stink lizards.
You know he was in Darkman too.
Oh, he was Durant.
Durant, yes.
by the way, and you all know this, but that's not that segment was pre Tales from the Crypt, the TV series. It's in Tales from the Crypt, the movie from 1972.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't remember that. I remember Tales from the Crypt, but I don't remember that.
I forgot. Honestly, I forgot
Where-
that it was in the movie.
Where Joan Collins played the wife.
Yeah.
Martin Body was the husband, and then Oliver McGreevy was the maniac, was Santa.
He doesn't do a good job as Larry Drake.
No, but Tales from the Crypt doesn't have Peter Cushing. So the original, the Tales from the Crypt movie, 1972, has Peter Cushing and was directed by Freddie Francis. So
Freddie
if you're not,
Fender? How did he stop playing country? Oh God, that's such a bad joke. All right.
but if you haven't seen the original 1972, is that an Amicus? It's not Hammer, it's Amicus, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
Amicus. If you've not seen the original, you really should see it
You are
because
a nerd.
not taking away from Zemeckis and those later authors who updated it, but the original story is from the Tales from the Crypt 1972 movie, and that was based on an actual story by William M. Gaines, who wrote for the
Right.
original Tales from the Crypt comic.
Yeah.
So that story goes back to the original Tales from the Crypt EC comics. So I wanted to give credit where it was due, which would be William M. Gaines and Al Feldstein were the two authors that wrote those. So just
Yeah,
FYI.
and if you're not familiar with Tales from the Crypt, it was an anthology show on HBO
Stop
Max.
listening now.
Yeah.
Don't. We need the hits, dude.
It's
You
one of
can't-
the most amazing shows that isn't on streaming for some reason. And this is one of the first episodes, and just a while, it's all about this woman who kills her husband because she's greedy and wants the money, and is trying to
That's
get rid of the
based on a
body.
true story.
Yeah. Is it?
No, I don't.
No, I was like,
Probably.
what? I was like, did you just?
I'm not in a good place, Chad.
Yeah, no. So while she's trying to get rid of the body, there's a mental patient who has escaped a hospital who's an axe murderer, and he appears on her doorstep dressed as Santa, and it's all about her trying to evade this crazy looking Santa who's just trying to hack her to death.
Which and the original plot, and by the way, if you want the full story of this, you'll have to go back and probably shell out some cash, because the story first appeared in Vault of Horror, not actually in Tales from the Crypt. So EC Comics
Yeah.
had Vault of Horror, Tales from the Crypt. What was the other one? Because there was the Crypt Keeper,
suspense,
the Witch.
something.
Yeah. But anyway, Vault of Horror published March 1954, pre-comic code, so when you can still have tons of violence. Vault of Horror, yeah, the March 1954 one, and it was considered a sister publication to Tales from the Crypt, but it actually came about, if you want to go back even further, because Johnny Craig was the one that illustrated and wrote it originally, taking the cue from Gaines and Feldstein, because he wanted to play with the idea of a killer Santa trope, which he borrowed from the 1942 poem, The Boy Who Laughed at Santa Claus, which was written by Ogden Nash. I'm not making any of this up, folks. But if you look, and I can't show it,
complicated.
I can't show this. Well, I want to give credit where credit is due, because everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of people knows the HBO series Tales from the Crypt, and they think it started there. But I wanted to give credit to the 1972 movie, and really, I also want to say this all came from comic books, and it is a cool story. But yeah, so if there is I won't go into the full history, but I will give credit to the people who do a good job of breaking down this history. A poster known as Johnny Metro, I don't know if this is his actual name. If you search, go to wickedhorror.com, which is a news website.
Wicked Horror?
Horror.
Well,
but anyway, you can just Google the story, Tales from the Cryptmas, exploring every incarnation of and all through the house, because this story has been told multiple times in things linked to the original comics, through the HBO series, through the as we've said, through everything else. I just wanted to give credit where credit was due. It is so a great story that has been repeated multiple times, but always with unique changes. Because one thing that's a little bit more clear in the 1972 movie is she's going to blame her husband's death on the maniac. She's framing the maniac to make his sentencing worse. So it becomes even more of a comeuppance when she encounters the maniac. Like the fact is that she was going to make his sentence worse when he eventually gets caught by framing him, I think is an interesting parallel. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I ruined everything.
No, you just ruined Christmas.
Oh, Christmas was already ruined.
That's
Joe,
probably.
you got one?
Yeah, well, mine as far as actual bad Santas, and depends on how you phrase it, right? Because we didn't actually talk about this. Are we talking about really evil Santas or bad, just like this is a terrible Santa?
Either one.
The worst one is from Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. Silent Night, Deadly Night. I mean, a young boy witnesses Santa kill his mom and dad, and then he dresses up as Santa, become an axe-wielding psycho.
I need to go back and watch that. I don't remember anything about it.
I don't really either, and I'm not trying to be sexist. All I ever remember is Linnea Quigley's boobs when she's getting impaled on the deer antlers. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a famous scene.
No, don't remember it.
Well, it's famous for people who are straight.
And which one is it? Which one is it where he comes back and he has a dome for a head at the top of his head and you can see his brain?
I can't remember any of the sequels other than the one that's got Mickey Rooney in it, and it's weird. And he's spraying like holy water on people or something. They're not that great. They're not great movies. I can't overly recommend them. I'm just saying, if you're talking about really bad Santas, that's another one. Who's next?
James.
Well, I mean, I could go a little bit on the nose and say Bad Santa.
It's on a lot of lists if you look up Bad Santa.
But I actually
imagine why.
He actually becomes a much better Santa. Right?
I mean, good Santa.
He adapts
in his own way.
Well, I mean, things happen. No, yeah, I struggle with this. I mean, there's tons of bad Santas. There's tons of movies or films and plays and all that stuff that point out. You know what? I'm gonna get controversial here for a second. I'm gonna make some people angry. You know who I think a bad Santa is?
Who?
Father Christmas from C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
Shows up and gives them children weapons. Could stay behind and help fight the wicked queen, the
Yeah.
Ice Queen, whatever it is. But no, goes here. You have this sword. You have this shield. All right, then, kids. Santa's got to go.
I have read the book. I have seen the old version, not the new version. I do not remember Santa Claus.
You
Isn't
don't,
that?
honestly?
No, I really didn't remember Santa Claus was in that at all.
Really? He
Yeah.
shows up. I mean, he's a good looking Santa.
That is so. How did this?
Seriously.
How was this popular? I didn't realize Santa Claus was in it.
Yeah, he comes in like midway through the movie, right, James?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's not a bad movie.
No, but it is. I always say about that. Wait, you're Father Christmas. You have connections to the spirit of the holiday, and you have this man, and you give children weapons and say, "Use these later to help, kids. I'm out." I mean, that's not overly helpful. I mean, if you show up to a battle and you've got 3 underage people taking on literally the forces of evil. And you're like, all right, kids, there's 14 M16s in this sack over here. I got to go. You are not helping the cause. Not on the level that you could. Go back, get some of them elves. Let's form a real army. Aslan needs you.
Yeah. Now I have a really bad Santa that nobody wanted to find. Is it Chad's turn or my turn? I can't
It's my
remember.
turn, so hold
Okay,
on to
go.
that one. I am going with the Santa from Christmas Story.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a good one. He's a D-bag
He is such an awful person.
and he's slimy.
And you know who's even worse? The damn elf.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so growing up, I never saw a mall Santa. I didn't know mall Santas were a thing until I was well into my late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
So I was
Because you
like,
didn't know malls existed.
yeah, that's not necessarily true. I just didn't know Santa resided in them.
Right.
But yeah,
And that
no,
there was
just
malls.
that whole scene, it sticks out like a sore thumb to me in A Christmas Story. So it's not one of my favorite Christmas movies by far, but that scene, honestly, it's more iconic to me than any other scene in that movie.
Okay, you don't like Christmas Vacation either.
No. I like Christmas Story. It's just not one of my favorites. I do not like Christmas Vacation. I don't understand the appeal of it.
I don't get that one.
I don't think it's funny. I don't think there's much of a story to it. I just don't
Well,
like
no,
it.
there's not much of a story. I mean, it's a vacation movie. There's not
Yeah.
much story to any of them.
Yeah, so I just never got onto that bandwagon like everybody else, and that's perfectly fine for everybody. It's just not my cup of tea. But yeah, no, but Christmas Story again, it's just not one of those ones that connected to me in any shape, way, or form. But that one scene where he's going to Santa and that elf are absolutely terrifying. I would never want to see Santa again if I had that into that experience. But it didn't seem to affect Ralphie at all, which I never got that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my pick. What's yours, Joe?
Well, mine is for actual Santas that are bad is 2010's Rare Exports.
Yeah, that was on my list.
I mean, it's a Finnish film about these archaeological crew that discover the actual real Santa, and you don't want to mess with that motherfucker. Right?
Right. And then he has all the Santa minions.
Yeah, the dark elves or whatever they are.
Yeah, but they act like mall Santas, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, it's bad. And by the way, Chad, you're right. The Christmas Story Santa shows up on several lists. Just letting you know. All right.
It's iconic. It is iconic. Yeah, I mean, as being a terrible, terrible Santa, I can't think of one that's even worse than Christmas Story Santa.
No. All right. James.
I'm gonna go with one that I vaguely remembered, and I had to look it up, so I haven't seen it recently because I didn't watch a lot of your Silent Night, Deadly Nights. My parents were pretty sheltered. But there was, and some people actually consider this the best of the 80s Christmas horror. I won't get into that because I haven't seen it in a while, but I do vaguely remember it because it's oddly sweet in some ways, though terrible because it is a R-rated horror film. Um, the original title of this was "You Better Watch Out." It also was released under Christmas Evil. But it's about a child that finds out and is heartbroken when he finds out Santa's not real. And he spends the rest of his life, he builds a toy factory and he's doing all this stuff. He's obsessed with making sure kids are happy and all of that stuff. And over time, though, he's greeted with cynicism. People mock him, people do it. So, of course, what happens? He has a nervous breakdown and embarks on a Yuletide killing spree. As one does. As one does. So, but even on IMDb, where a lot of Christmas horror doesn't fare necessarily well, it's got a 5.5 out of 10, so not great. And the cast is not one that you're going to know a ton of names from. There's a few names here and there, but I do think it's one. It was originally directed and written by Lewis Jackson. So if you've never seen Better Watch Out, you better watch out, aka Christmas Evil. It was actually the last film directed um, by Mr. Jackson. It's not
He
one.
is for real.
It's not one that a lot of people talk about because it is overshadowed by Silent Night, Deadly Night, Don't Open Till Christmas, things like that. But yeah, you should totally check out if you get a chance and can find it. Because I'm now sitting here going, I wonder where I can find it. Evidently, you can stream it if you have AMC Plus,
Oh,
or
right.
Crackle or Plex.
Mm.
But it's a lesser known horror film. But it actually kind of, again, it's if people would have just embraced the spirit of the season, he wouldn't have snapped because all he wants is for kids to actually have a good holiday and be able to maintain their belief. It's when he encounters the evil and cynicism around the holiday that he snaps and decides he's going to stop those who don't believe.
Yeah.
So there you
Okay.
go.
Chad.
So, in my wisdom, I didn't look up this gentleman, and I can't remember the character's name, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. The drunk man dressed up as Santa in Gremlins.
I mean, it's not awful.
He wants to fight. He wants to. Doesn't he pee on the side of a car at one point? Am I making that one up?
I don't remember that.
I could be making that one up, but yeah, he as the night progresses, he gets drunker and drunker, and the drunker he gets, the more awful he becomes.
Yeah.
And it's one of those weird side characters in the movie that a lot of people forget about, honestly. But he's dressed up as Santa and he's at a holiday party, giving kids presents, and he just keeps drinking and drinking and drinking.
Are you Gremlins?
Is this Gremlins, isn't it?
No.
What am I thinking of?
I don't know what you're thinking. I for a split second thought, what are you talking about? I've
Oh
had
my
to watch
God.
Gremlins 4 times the last few weeks.
Guys, this is
Santa
what
only
happens.
with running with the gremlin running on his back.
This is what happens when you don't prepare. And Joe stole my last one, and I was trying to come up with them. I was like, oh wait, so now what movie am I thinking of?
I don't know. Do you want
I
me
know,
to go
but I'm
ahead
going
while
to try
you
to Google. Hold on.
Go for it. Go for
Let's
it.
see if we can solve this mystery.
while you're Googling it, I'm going to go on a movie I've never seen, but I love the actor. We're going to talk about a movie that has not only produced by Brett Ratner, but it has cameos by Fran Drescher and James Caan. We're talking Santa's Sleigh with Bill Goldberg. Have either of you all ever seen it?
Never seen it.
It's a horror comedy, and Slay, as in Slay, which means he's going to slay people. So I didn't. You want to hear it? So Santa is actually the son of Satan and was forbidden from killing humans thanks to a bet he lost with an angel 1,000 years ago. With the bet now over, it's time for some Christmas themed mayhem to begin. I gotta watch this, I guess, eventually. I don't know why I've never seen it.
Yeah. I,
Don't get too excited. I was just looking for bad Santas.
yeah. I mean, he shows up in a lot of lists.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
wish I could. I can't believe I made up a scene in Gremlins, one of my favorite
Yeah,
movies.
it doesn't exist. I'm not trying to be. I just have had to watch it so many
Is,
times.
is that what you call a Mandela effect?
No, I don't think you were in prison. I think we're in prison now, but we're not. James, go.
James, have you been able to find it? Because I can't find it now.
I don't know. I'm obsessed now, though.
Because I just remember seeing there's a guy at a Christmas party,
Yeah.
and he just gets progressively drunk and handing out presents. And now I'm oh my god, James, go ahead.
I do want to say one of the best Santas that starts out terrible but eventually becomes redeemed. You kind of have to mention the Twilight Zone, right? Night
Oh,
of
that's
the
not who
Meek.
I thought you were going with.
Oh, the bet. What do you know? Night of the Meek. That was one of my favorite picks last year. It's actually that story, even with the new one with Richard, what's his face from Empty Nest, from the '80s version. I love both of those movies, both those shows.
Um, so yeah. I mean, I think that's because he's not a great Santa when he begins. He gets redeemed as the thing goes on. But no, I'm still sitting here trying to figure out. I'm trying to think of what else. So drunk Santa.
Yeah,
Well,
I can't.
let me argue that point. He's not a bad Santa. He's a sad man playing Santa who's given up on life. He's
Well,
not
yeah.
mean to anyone.
Oh, guys, I remember.
Yeah.
It just hit me. I confused Gremlins with the ref.
The ref.
Those are very different films, Chad. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they're very different films.
Do you remember now that there's a drunk Santa and he
No.
comes into the house and then he runs at Dennis Leary and Dennis Leary pops him right in the head and knocks him out cold?
No.
Oh my god, guys, why did I put that? Why did I put a whole subplot in the ref into Gremlins, guys? And I've seen Gremlins how many times? I have the poster on my wall.
You haven't seen it enough.
Oh, to our fans, I apologize, and to Joe Dante, please accept my
You
humblest
mean
apology.
to our fan?
Yeah, to our fan, and Joe Dante, please come on our show and don't listen to this episode.
Well, since we've done ruined this topic,
yeah, the ref Santa, the Santa from the ref. Oh my god.
you know, I honestly, what are some of the we've touched on this topic and we have actually repeated the flip side, I guess, of some of what we did last year.
Oh, and by the way, I do want to point out the worst Santa that we had that had a redeeming end, the Grinch.
Why?
Because he dressed up as he was Santa and he came and stole all the presents and everything in Whoville.
Yeah, I think we've done shod this horse.
Yeah,
I've got a question about that though.
About the horse?
Well, does it have a beard and wear a red hat? No. I've got a question about the Grinch.
Yeah.
You ever wonder if the Grinch was framed? He didn't steal Christmas. That's the entire point. They still have Christmas with him doing. He's framed in that way.
Well, he stole their gifts.
Yeah, but that's
He's a
not
thief.
what Christmas is.
It isn't.
No. I
Well,
guess
son of a
not.
bitch! I had this happen last year. If there's 3 more fucking ghosts come through this house,
If you would charge them rent, that's what happened. I was
if
going to
they
say,
orphans would pay the rent, they wouldn't have to be cold, would they?
by the way, though, so last year, we had this Christmas stuff going on. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, that shit happens every year.
But I was thinking, maybe we should end this episode with some things that you can watch if you've watched all these if you've seen your Violent Nights and your It's a Wonderful Life and all of that stuff. What are some films that people may or shows that some people may have forgotten that maybe you should check out if you haven't seen it? Because one, I don't think anybody talks about anymore. That when it came out, I saw it in the theater. Nobody ever brings up Office Christmas Party anymore.
I enjoyed that movie when I saw it in the theater.
I did too.
The reason is it because well, I shouldn't say we. I had nothing to do with it. But is it because TJ, what's his face, got Me Too'd?
But yeah, but I mean, does that undo Jennifer Aniston's work? I mean, are we
Or
punishing
everybody else in that
or
movie?
Jason Bateman or
Yeah.
Katie, Kate McKinnon?
Yeah,
mean,
the movie works. I enjoyed it.
It's got a really strong cast, a lot of talent behind it. It actually has somewhat of a good message to it, but nobody talks about Office Christmas
No,
Party.
it was a big hit too. I mean, it was a hit.
Yeah, I mean it. So and another one, by the way, it was on only Apple Plus, but I actually give it credit for doing some things I didn't think it would do. I'll give a little bit of credit to Spirited with Will Ferrell and Van Wilder.
I never watched it.
Well, dude, it's not.
Wait, is who in Van Wilder?
I was just saying Van Wilder because I blanked on Ryan Reynolds' name.
Why
But
can't you say remember Deadpool's name?
It's Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, and it's basically a send up of
Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol, except it turns out they're a corporation and they have to do that every year. And they pick one person, they have to redeem them every year. And Tracy Morgan's in it.
It's a musical, right?
It's a musical. I watch it with my kids, and the point being is Ryan Reynolds the one, and and he realizes what's going on, and he's not redeemable. He doesn't care. But then through a series of events, you start to figure out why he doesn't care, and he becomes sympathetic, even though the fact, and it does have I won't even say it does have a quote unquote happy ending, but it's a tragic happy ending because for him to be redeemed, something terrible has to happen to him. And something terrible already has happened to it. So it's a weird film because I watched it with my kids and I mean, they enjoyed it. My kids love musicals, especially my eldest. But it's just a weird movie to recommend. Like, quite frankly, it's one of the ones that almost needs to come with a trigger warning. Because spoilers, his life was shaped by the fact he lost family members to cancer, and he couldn't stand up and do the right thing at the time because of the situation he was in, and because of that, he's lost his ability to deal with things. And so it's a really weird movie to recommend, though it is a Christmas movie. So much like The Ref deals with more or less a family that doesn't need to be together anymore,
Yeah.
a husband and wife. But it's a weird movie to recommend for Christmas, but it's a good movie.
Yep.
So I didn't know if there's any more that y'all could think of, but I was just thinking nobody talks about Office Christmas Party anymore, and I remember enjoying it.
No, I agree with you 100%. It's a fun movie. I saw it at the Dollar Theater when that still existed, and it was a lot of fun. But you're right, nobody talks about that anymore. As far as other Christmas things, I think we've done most of these stuff on Bonehead before. But have you guys ever remember recommending the Real Ghostbusters Christmas, where they steal the Christmas, where they stop the Christmas
Oh yeah.
Carol? Have we
No,
talked
I
about that
referenced
on here before?
Yeah, I referenced that one. Yeah, in a previous
Uh-uh.
episode.
There you go. That's all I got.
Any other Christmas specials? I was saying the other day, but you used to have the Pac-Man Christmas special.
The Alvin and the Chipmunks harmonica. I found that one because the kid got into the Chipmunks movie and he was not a fan of that.
Is it because he doesn't like animation?
No, I'd also talk about the Alf one, but once again, we've talked about that on here.
Yeah,
They're
no.
both depressing Christmas specials. Alf sees a girl who's dying.
I did read an article and I thought about you, Joe. The article was called "We Need to Bring Back Garfield's Christmas Special." I'm like, did it ever disappear?
Not in my house. Of course, I own the DVD.
Well, and I think that's it though. We don't have
Hashtag physical
specials.
media.
We don't have Christmas specials anymore though.
No, they don't exist. They don't. And that we were talking. The guy
Like
that
prime time.
Yeah, the guy that runs the aftercare that my son's in after his school for a couple hours till he or his mother can go pick him up, till I can, or his mother can pick him up. We were talking about this because they were watching Rudolph, and and it was the last day of school this past Tuesday. I get it. They don't watch TV, a lot of it, but I get it. And they were one like over here was Rudolph. They had hot chocolate for him, and it was nice to see it. And they're all in their PJs, and it was cool. And I want to sign him out, and he's such a nice guy. And well, he's always nice to me and my son. And I said to him, only a third of these kids are watching Rudolph. And he goes, yeah, because they don't care, because they all either don't understand. He said, we were talking about it. And he said, when you and I go, yeah, we're probably about the same age. I didn't ask him. You got that shot. That was your one shot. And if you missed it, you didn't see it again until the next year. if it
Right,
was
if at
Rudolph or
all.
Frosty. And now it's just streaming. Actually,
Yep.
I don't know if Rudolph's streaming or there's one of those that I can't remember if it's that or Frosty. There's actual problems. You have to buy it.
Yeah.
You have to pay to rent it or buy it because there's problems with the rides. Am I right about that? I just read this about the other.
Yeah.
I think it may be Frosty.
Yeah, something with the music rights, right? Because
Yeah, it's something like that. It
yeah.
goes three different. Yeah, and you're absolutely. It's Frosty the Snowman, and it's because of the song,
Mhm.
and because the special's based on the song, and it goes like there's a couple of them's like, nope, Paramount owns this shit. Nope, Warner Brothers owns this shit. When it comes to that, it goes splinters. Like, yeah, I own the special, but the music goes back this way, and then the song lyrics go that way.
Which oddly enough is apropos of what we were talking about earlier. It's the issue with Tales from the Crypt, right?
Mhm.
Because the puppet, the Crypt Keeper, is not the Crypt Keeper from the comics. Because if it was, hey, that was EC. As long as you have Warren and Warren Gaines and all, you can use that. But they created that version of the Crypt Keeper for the show, so it
I'm
gets
not
into
exactly for sure what the rights problem is on the Tales from the
that's
Crypt.
part of it, because when they were going to, if for years, if you go back and look, they were going to relaunch it, and unless they got everybody back at the table to agree that they could use that character, they couldn't use that character.
And there's a bunch of producers. All the big, heavy producer directors of the time all had a stake in Tales from the Crypt. Richard Donner, Joel Silver, Robert Zemeckis, Walter Hill. That was a murderer's row of directors and producers of the 80s, if you don't know who they are. And they all had a stake and owned Tales from the Crypt. I don't
Yeah.
know how that plays into it, but I bet it's a bitch.
Well, and I was
Yeah.
going to say, because I just remember reading about that part of it was if they brought it back, at one point they had negotiated, but they couldn't finalize the Crypt Keeper. And then people were like, would people come back without that Crypt Keeper because he's so beloved? So
Yes. I need to ask next time John Kassir is at Scarefest, I'll ask him, All right, guys, we probably need to wrap this.
no, I think that's it. I
Yeah.
think we've done it.
We're good.
All right. And this, hey, really quick, for you all that have been listening to us, this is like episode 300 and blah, 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 blah. I want to say thank you so much. This has been a really tough year for me. I know it's been a really tough year for the other two. Well, it's been a really tough year for a couple of years for James and Chad. But we really appreciate you tuning in all this time, listening to us. Thank you. We do it for you, truthfully, because we could just hang out and not record it. But this actually gives us a chance to make us hang out because we all live in different places and we have kids and jobs but thank you so much. Have a wonderful hopefully you get some time off. Have a wonderful break. Send us presents. We like presents. We want to get free things. I don't think I'm supposed to say this, but once again, fuck them three ghosts.
Yeah. In our next episode, we'll be talking about what we loved. Even though we all three had pretty rough years, we'll talk about what we loved the most in 2023.
Yeah, even though 2023 can suck the snotty well, you know the rest of it. Oh my God, what a shit year.
Hold on, let me do one of my favorite lines from a movie that also people stop talking about. Some people have happy stories about good times and noodle salad. Just nobody on this podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad we both went with podcast. No, it's true. But kids are healthy. I'm healthy. James is healthy. Chad on the fence.
Yeah.
But
Cholera.
Thank you all so much. We do appreciate it. And we love every one of you. So hopefully if you see us out in the convention next year, I know that we'll be doing a live Bonehead show pretty sure we'll be doing a live Bonehead show from Comic-Con coming this March. Want to see you there. Stop by. Thank you all so much. This has been Bonehead Weekly.